Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Tolarian Community College. I have with me, via technology, coming in from afar, the one and only Mark Rosewater, head designer of Magic the Gathering, and in many ways the face of Magic the Gathering, who has come to talk with us today about the state of Magic the Gathering and the future of Magic the Gathering in these difficult times. We're currently experiencing a pandemic, a global emergency. And Mark and I thought it would be really nice to talk about what this means for Magic and how Magic is still being made, if it is even still being made, and many other related questions. So, Mark, thank you so much.
Magic still exists.
Magic still exists. But will it exist? That's in what state?
Sure.
This is, and by the way, to my viewers, this is not a hold his feet to the fire sort of critical interview. This is, I want to talk about some serious fears that I have and that I think a lot of Magic players have, and some serious curiosities about where things are going. But maybe when all this is over, Mark, you can come on down in person and we can have perhaps that more hard-hitting interview.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Sure.
Okay, but for the time being, I just want to ask, because I'm genuinely afraid we've lost in many ways due to this pandemic, the gathering, and game stores have to be closed and can't be holding events. Obviously, there are no Magic Fests going on. People are social distancing and self-quarantined, and this is on a global level. And it's scary because so much of Magic is the gathering. So I guess I just want to ask, just going into this, is Magic going to be okay coming out of this, or is Magic taking a bad hit from this?
I mean, Magic is going to be okay. The big message I want to say, I'll go in more detail, but Magic is going to be okay. One of the things to be aware, I mean, the pandemic is causing lots of things to happen, and obviously we're adapting to things, but Magic as you know it both is going to continue to exist and is, I mean, one of the things I'll talk about today is I'm working just as hard every day making Magic as if I were in the office making Magic. I'm doing it from my den, but I mean, Wizards has put together a process by which we can have teams online, and we are doing work from home very efficiently. I'm not saying there are not some wrinkles and we're working things out, but we are full steam ahead making Magic. And, one of the things that's really important to understand is, two things. One is, we're trying to understand the effect of the pandemic, and we are trying to help the best we can. And the second is, we want to make sure that we're still effective behind the scenes, so a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, there's Magic there. So let's first talk about the first one, which is what we're doing for the pandemic itself. Number one of our biggest concerns is, as you said, it's called Magic the Gathering. The Gathering is a big part of Magic. While we love all our digital efforts, what we call tabletop, paper Magic, is a really big part of Magic. In fact, it's the largest part of Magic. More people play Magic through physical cards than any other way to play. That's important to us. It's one of the things that really, in some ways, sets us apart. I remember I was at GDC, which is a big game developing conference in San Francisco, and they had this giant poster up on the wall. I think it was like the top 30 games in the world. And we were up there, and we were the only non-video game on the list. Now, obviously, we have digital versions too, but we were the only game that you could go sit down and play of the top 30 games. And we've come to realize that's a big part of our identity. We want you to go and play in person with people. That there's a lot of, one of the things that makes Magic Magic is the commodity, the community, the sharing with one another, and that face-to-face sort of thing is really important. And Magic, we always want to embrace that. But, we're in a pandemic, okay? That we understand that right now, face-to-face in a lot of the world is not, or at least face-to-face outside your homes, and hopefully people are playing with their families and stuff, but going to your game store and stuff is just not viable right now. And one of the things that's really important is, look, Wizards, the safety of our players is our primary concern. It does no good we want the players to be healthy and safe, and So a lot of what we're doing is making sure that we're taking the steps we need, along with lots of other people, not us, but I mean, we're trying to do what all the rest of the world is trying to do, which is keep people safe.
Okay.
And that means right now, okay, the gathering part is, it's a little bit trickier outside of your home, for example, to play, tabletop Magic. But we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can. So when the pandemic is over, that there's a thriving, that the tabletop scene as you know it will be able to continue on.
So is there a roadmap that is being constructed now? So we're going to talk in a moment about what you're doing now just to keep making Magic, and that's all really cool. Mm-hmm. But while we're talking about this, what I'm very curious about is there a roadmap being formed behind the scenes? And I understand if you can't be specific about it, but in terms of when the pandemic is thankfully over, that there is going to be a road to recovery, to restoring Magic Fest's local game store, Friday Night Magic, Standard Showdowns, all the wonderful events and in-person gatherings, or is that still something that is unclear and we don't know how we're going to get towards?
I mean, we are having conversations about how do we get past the pandemic.
Right.
Now, the thing to stress is, we don't know. There's so much we don't know that a lot of what we're doing is making plans upon plans upon plans to try to understand. And there's two big important things within this. One is, what do we do right now? How do we keep Magic alive during the pandemic? And what do we do after? How do we get back to where we were before?
Okay.
During the pandemic, there's a couple of it. One is we're leaning more heavily on digital. There is a way to play Magic. If you want to stay in your home and play with other people who aren't literally in your home, yes, we have Magic Gathering Arena. We have Magic Online. There's means and ways to play Magic. And right now, we're leaning on digital because digital, it's a fun way to play Magic, and it's currently the safest way to play right now because the face-to-face stuff is hard. But the other thing we're trying to do is, for example, we have a lot of stores. The stores matter a great deal to us. And so we're taking a lot of steps to try to help the stores.
Okay.
For example, we are giving them for free mystery boosters. We are giving out a whole bunch of mystery boosters that we're just giving it away. We're not charging for it all as a means to help the stores have a way to generate some money. We are trying to help stores run events online. So we are working with stores so that they can run Friday Night Magic in conjunction with stuff like Magic Arena. Also, when the set comes out, when the next set, Ikoria, comes out, we're going to let stores sell you the pre-release kits to take home. We've never done that before.
Okay.
That is something that we're doing to try to match right now. So, one of the things we're trying to do is we want to support the structure that is normal Magic, and we want to make sure that the stuff during this pandemic, there's lots of stores that are struggling. We understand that. And we get the economic turmoil of a pandemic is a big deal. And so we're doing what we can to both help the stores get through this and provide them tools that they can connect with their players during it.
So this isn't, as some might be afraid. I'm going to be completely honest with you here. One of my deep fears as a lover of the local game store is that this pandemic might just be a point where in a lot of the meetings, the answer is, well, let's just put all of our attention, all of our effort post-pandemic into digital. Like this is digital all in or nothing. You're saying that the local game stores are still a big, important part of this equation and a part of recovery efforts?
Oh, absolutely. Let me say this. I know there's this fear out there that somehow we're just going to make Magic a digital game and just get rid of tabletop. I think there's this fear that we're going to phase out tabletop over time or something.
Yes, huge fear.
And so number one, tabletop is an organic main way of Magic. It currently right now, not during the pandemic, but normally we make more money off tabletop Magic than anything else. It is something it's the lifeblood of the game, and we are not getting rid of tabletop. Tabletop is doing amazingly well. Tabletop is thriving. Right now during the pandemic, it's having some issues, but normally tabletop is thriving, right. Okay? And we are doing everything we can to make sure that post-pandemic, we can get back to where we were pre-pandemic. And that means, yes, we care very much about the stores. We care very much about doing the things we need to do to make sure there is a vibrant tabletop community, a vibrant tabletop, place to play, all the things that were there that went away. I mean, yes, Magic Fest will eventually be back. Friday Night Magic will eventually be, like, the things you loved about sitting with your friends and playing with them, we want that to return. The only reason they're gone right now is out of safety. It's not that we don't love those things or care about things. We just care about the safety of the audience more so than those things. So right now we want everybody to be safe, but we are planning and making steps to make sure that we can get back to where we were before after the pandemic. We have tabletop Magic is here to stay. It's not going away. We're not phasing it out. Magic's not going to become just a digital game. I mean, if you like digital, I'm not saying it can't be a digital game, because obviously it's a fun way to play.
Yeah.
But we want Magic to be both. If you want to play digitally, play digitally. You want to play tabletop, play tabletop. Pandemic, okay, maybe you're playing more digital right now, but long term, yes, we want both those options available.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's wonderful words to hear. I got to say, as someone who loves, I love digital too. I don't have anything against digital. I just often have the fear that the push is towards only being digital or mostly being digital, and hearing that is definitely, out of everything I could ever be wrong about, I would love nothing more than to be wrong about my fears that is the behind the scenes push as being towards digital. So
I mean, tabletop is, I think it's a key part of Magic. The ability to sit and play with your friends face to face. I'm not saying everybody needs to play that way, but it is something we want to make sure is a way you can play, and it's an important part of how Magic functions. So fear not. It is not, face-to-face is not going away. Paper Magic is not going away. Tabletop is here to stay. I promise you. It is something that we have every intention of being part of Magic for long into the future.
So in addition to local game stores being an important part of the gathering aspect of Magic, there are, of course, Magic Fests. And last year, we had just started at the end of the year with two really exciting things, Command Fests, which, as far as every indicator I know, were a huge success, both on both ends of people putting it on and people getting to go and enjoy it. And then there was also things like adding the Command Zone to Magic Fests. And this was all really starting to be a big snowball effect. And now that, of course, has all come to an end. How long are we going to, I mean, obviously you don't know when the pandemic is going to end, but when it does end, do you think right away we're going to have a big giant, let's celebrate that we can all be together again, Magic Fest? Or is that something where let's take it small, let's take it easy, let's not all rush out here to party just yet. People need to take a breath, even though we're allowed to now be with each other. What do you think in terms of Magic Fests after the pandemic? Okay,
well, a couple things. One is, you are correct. Magic Fests have been very successful. The Command Fest, very successful. Magic Fests are a big part of Magic. We love Magic Fests. They're great. And right now, by the way, we've been doing online Magic Fests. So check some of those out if you haven't. We've been trying to find ways to bring some of the Magic Fest experience online. I know not all of it translates, but we're doing the best we can. Will Magic Fest come back? Yes, eventually they'll come back. The thing to keep in mind, and this is as you listen to the experts, in the health experts, is we're going to slowly ramp up. And early on what's going to be is small interactions, and we're going to ramp up till we get to big interactions. So we're not going to hold giant Magic events until it is safe for the world to hold giant events. Like I said, safety first. So we have every plan eventually to get back to Magic Fest, but it will be when it is safe and appropriate and okay to have Magic Fest. It is definitely something we want to return to. It's just a matter of, we don't want to be premature. We don't want to have them, we're going to slowly ramp up as society gets back. There'll be a point in time when large gatherings are okay. And when that is okay, when that time comes, yes, there should be Magic Fest.
Okay, so the minute that we're able to have small gatherings again, we're not going to be necessarily hit with it's the Magic Fest extravaganza to end all Magic Fests. Going in, you're being cautious and about it, and starting with smaller gatherings and building your way back up.
Yeah, I mean, we are consulting with health officials just like everybody else. I mean, we're going to follow we're going to follow the lead of what the country is doing to make sure that, I expect that the first thing that will happen will be small gatherings will happen, and then it'll slowly grow over time. So I think something like Friday Night Magic will probably start before something like Magic Fest will start, just following with the guidelines of what the health officials are talking about.
Sure. I got to say, even though this isn't the critical interview that I want to have with you, I find it very reassuring to hear you speak so highly of local game stores and their role for Magic the Gathering, of tabletop or paper Magic and Magic Fests, all of these things. Those were actually a lot of questions that I would have penned for a more feet to the fire interview. And a lot of what you're saying is that these aspects are not just important to Magic the Gathering, but a pillar, a foundation of this game. What sets it apart? What really and drives it financially? You mentioned most of your money comes from it, so that's good to hear as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I really want to hammer home is we love digital. We love the fact that people who want to play digitally can play digitally, and that is also part of our future. But the tabletop is not going away. That part of Magic is, if you like interacting with people face to face, if that's the way you want to play Magic. I mean, it's a pandemic. It's not during the pandemic.
Not during the pandemic. Not during the pandemic.
I mean, please play with your friends at home. Play with your family at home. But yeah, what we're trying to say is tabletop is an organic way of Magic, and something that to a lot of people is very core to its experience. We recognize that. We understand that. We want Magic. I mean, our goal, this is the big goal for Magic. This is kind of the top level, is we want everybody to play Magic in the way that they want to play Magic. So, that's not just how you play. You can play digitally, you can play in person. The format you choose to play, the kind of decks you choose to play, who you play with. There's so many. Magic's strength comes from its flexibility. That Magic can be, you can make Magic the game that you want it to be. And that is something that's so core to its identity, that we want you to play Magic the way that you want to play Magic. And for a lot of people, outside of a pandemic, that is face-to-face. And so, I keep saying outside the pandemic. That is just so important.
Okay.
That is a big part of Magic. And so that is not going away. Maybe it's temporarily on hold during the pandemic, but that is not going away. And once people can get together again, once it's safe for people to be, as soon as people can get together and see their friends, we want them playing Magic with their friends. That, once it's safe, yes, one of the things we want you to do with your friends is to play Magic. And one of the interesting things of watching this whole thing happen is, there's some bittersweet. Obviously, I don't like the pandemic or all the bad things that's happening, but it's interesting watching people. You don't know how you love something till it's gone some of the times. And on some level, seeing people unable to play face-to-face, how much it matters, the pandemic has really shown that. If ever we were, there was no plan for it going away anyway, but the pandemic has only showed us how important that is to people, how much that matters to people. So, yes, that is a key part of Magic. It will come back when it's safe to come back. We want people interacting with other people, like I said, once it's safe to do so.
Awesome. Magic the Gathering has really exploded in recent years, and one of the things that's happened as a result of that is that we've had an explosion in products that are being offered by Magic the Gathering. And while we can all, myself included, make some jokes about how many Magic products come out, I'm also someone who loves buying Magic products and getting new Magic products and hearing about new Magic products. With the pandemic, is there anything behind the scenes that maybe is being possibly dropped off the table? We had heard about Jumpstart coming out and then silent. We don't know. And it was like, wait a second, has this caused Wizards to rethink maybe we can't release something that they were going to release, or is this going to impact the products that in the next year or even 2 years are going to be made available? Or what effect is all of this having on these products that we love to buy and then sometimes complain about?
Well, okay, so something I did. So I've been talking a lot about us being careful about how it interacts with the public. We want the public to be safe. Another thing behind the scenes, just so you understand, is the people that make our product, they are going through the pandemic, you know what I'm saying? And that, right. One of the things, when we talk about upcoming dates and I say there's some uncertainty, It's not just a matter of when is it safe to sell. It's also a matter of, can our partners safely make it? Not only do we want to make sure that all our players are safe, we want to make sure that all our employees, all our partners, everybody we interact with is safe. And if that means that they need to shut down the printing presses and not open them until it's safe for them, that's what they should be doing. And so everything we said we're going to do, we will do. Like I said, the dates might change because we are not going to take any steps that cause any harm to employees, to partners, to players. We are not, and so the reason the dates are kind of unknown is there's so many different factors. It's not just when do we want to release it, is when are we able to release it? You know what I'm saying? When can we actually print stuff? So
I guess
when we talk about future dates, that's part of it also is, look, there's a lot of factors that are complete unknowns right now. But to answer your question, look, yes, Jumpstart, we have every intention of making Jumpstart. Will Jumpstart come out the date we originally announced it? Maybe, maybe not. But it will come out. We have every intention of it coming out.
So nothing is being, I guess what I was getting at is sometimes things can get lost in the shuffle. I mean, there's a certain point where I could see a boardroom meeting where once the pandemic has cleared, someone saying, well, look, we have this backlog of products that safely we couldn't get to printers and get released. Is anything getting lost? Nothing's getting lost in the shuffle is what you're saying. It's not going to be like, looks like we can't do Jumpstart, or perhaps there was a really cool product that you didn't announce yet and that you maybe get said, well, look, we can't do a product every day here. Just in terms of reasonable release, this is going to have to, because of the virus, get dropped. Or you're saying it's all coming out. We don't know when, but.
Right. I mean, you're giving me hypotheticals. What I'm saying is we have every intention of putting everything out we've made. Okay. If the pandemic lasts 2 years, will it impact things? I mean, I don't know. I don't know the future. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have every intention. I'm not promising that everything we said will come out on the date we said, but I am promising the things we said will eventually come out.
Okay. All right. That's what I was getting at. So you're still making Magic the Gathering. You're everybody at Wizards of the Coast is working from home now. You're not having big boardroom meetings at the mothership and all of that. You're R&D. How does that work for R&D? I can visualize how working from home exists for a lot of kind of, I guess, traditional aspects of a company. But for something like R&D, I don't quite get how you're still playtesting Magic the Gathering sets, how you're still designing and spitballing cards. Can you tell us a little bit about how Magic is still getting made in this time of pandemic? How does that work?
Sure. Okay. Let me explain. Yeah. Okay, so what's going on is there's two big parts of the making of Magic from an R&D standpoint. One is the physically making it, coming up with the cards, filling the file. And the other part is playtesting. The first part is about people. I mean, normally we sit in a room and we talk. Okay, now we all sit in our own rooms, but we talk. I mean, that process isn't very different. Maybe we're writing on whiteboards or something. But maybe but the nature of sitting down with a bunch of other people and talking has actually transferred very well to video conferencing. I'm right now on 4 different teams, and I have my homework and I design my cards. And we come to meetings and we can put things up on, we have the means to share text, so we can put it up on the screen and we can talk through things and we can pick what we like. I have the ability at home to, reference our database. Anything that I would need to get at work, anything that I would need to get from my computer, I can get at home long distance. While the offices are closed right now, we spent a lot of time before we closed the offices getting the IT set up. We had practice days at home before we actually had to go home. So we did a lot of work to make sure that we had access to our tools. And we do. The tools we need to make Magic, we have access to. The second part of it, which is playtesting, I'll admit, that's been the tricky part. Playtesting has definitely been the thing that it's a lot easier to sit down with somebody face-to-face and playtest. We are still working out a lot of the kinks of the playtesting, but I can say I have playtested online. We have done it. We've tried a lot of different things. We're experimenting. I've had a webcam of physical cards. We've done a lot of different things, and we're experimenting. And I will say that the play testing part of it's been the tricky part. But we're working on that, and we're finding solutions. But we are making magic. We are not slowing down. We have not. All the things I'm working on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm on 4 teams right now. I am not slowing down. If anything, my family makes fun of me because the library where I'm right here, my den, is where I work. And so I'll go in at in the morning, and maybe I come out for lunch or take a break or something. But then I come out at the end of the day, and they're like, "How was your day?" I'm like, "Oh, I have a lot of meetings." So and the other thing we've been doing is the face-to-face meetings we can do on the video, and then for larger meetings, you can do a lot of. Where we have the Tuesday Magic meeting, now it's just I'm sitting at my computer, the people are talking, are doing presentations, but rather than me being in the audience, I'm watching it on the screen. If you had asked me a year ago how effective we could be at home, I would not have been. We are way more effective than I thought we would be. Actually, it's surprising how effective we've been using the tools at home.
All right, so the machine is still chugging along.
We are, yes, definitely chugging along, yes.
I would, and I don't know the specifics because I'm on this side of the table, as it were, but I would imagine that one thing that happens when you're working normally on site is that a lot of good ideas come from socializing with the with your coworkers, from being able to, even after you've done a game of playtesting, chat on the way to the water cooler, as it were, or lean over across the desk and say, "Hey, how about this for an idea?" And spitball and things like that. How is that still going on? Are you doing big Hangouts, or is that an aspect that's able to continue, or what does that look like during these times?
The cross-talk has gone down a little bit. I mean, obviously, one of the things that happens in the pit, where we work, is you say something and someone overhears you and they just make a comment on it. And there's a lot of cross-pollination that happens. So what we found is that cross-pollination doesn't happen as naturally when you're all at home. So we've done a couple things. One is we have done virtual Hangouts. Once a week, we're doing lunch together. On Friday, at the end of the day, Friday, there's a get-together. There's a little coffee break every day that's optional, but people are joining in to do little coffee breaks. We're doing a lot more documenting online so that we're writing things up and then posting it so other people can see it and then respond to it. And so there's a little bit more reading and responding to things than we do normally. I think that there's pluses and minuses of being home. But one of the things that has been very interesting to me is while we're missing a little bit of cross-pollination, it's forced us to come up with other ways to do that. And so there's a lot more of looking at things in motion, a lot more of reading things. Like every morning I get up and I have to read, there's all these notes, and so I'm reading all the notes and who said what where, and I might chime in on stuff. I'm much more active now than I was in the office, of sort of monitoring all the things, because that's where my information's coming from, where there's a lot more osmosis of some of the information that happens in the office. So it's different. I'm not going to say that us working at home is the same. There's differences, but I've been actually impressed how much we've been able to accomplish a lot of that. And you are right, the cross-pollination is something we're working harder at. It's something that doesn't naturally happen as easily when you're working from home, but we recognize the importance of it, and so we're taking steps to try to recreate it where we can.
Interesting. So this, even though the things are still going on, you're still making magic, has this then impacted? I mean, you said there's differences, so has this impacted design? Do you think we, the players, maybe will be able to point to the pandemic set where it's like, ooh, this is a little different. This is, things have changed because this is the set that was made when everybody was working from home, or is that too extreme?
I don't think the audience, I mean, other than knowing how long we take and looking at the calendar, I don't think the sets from release, you're going to have any idea what was from home and what was not. I don't think it's going to be tellable, is that a word? I don't think it's going to be noticeable from the audience perspective. Mm-hmm. The funny thing, so here's, I talked about some of the problems with working at home. One of the upsides for me particularly is, in this day and age, I have so many meetings and so much stuff going on, I normally don't get to make a lot of cards. I mean, in the history of Magic, I made a lot of cards. I made thousands of cards. But in normal Magic, I don't design as many cards as I used to, just in the nature of my job and how much stuff's going on. Being at home has let me do way more design. I've probably made 5 times the cards in the last month that I've made in the month before that. So one of the upsides for me is the things that are sort of your solo time, things in which you can do by yourself, is in some level easier to do because you have less distractions. There are a lot of meetings, there are a lot of things that go on that can pull away your attention. And it's hard for me to sit down and design sometimes at work. And at home, when I have my downtime and everything's sort of scheduled, it's just easier for me to do design. And so I've been chugging out designs. So maybe 2 years from now you'll go, wow, these cards are extra good because I made more cards. I don't know, but
so it sounds.
I don't. Yeah,
it sounds like, and I want to put this as politely to all of our other friends in other departments at Wizards of the Coast as possible, but it sounds like a lack of corporate meetings and bureaucratic bog down is really doing wonders for the creative process then, not having to attend so many corporate meetings, but you probably don't want to comment on that one.
I mean, I will say the individual design, the solo work is going up.
Yeah.
So one of the big things of solo work is just making cards and making designs. That has gone up. Just cause I'm not saying all the meetings and things aren't good. There's a lot of value that comes from them. It's not like at home is different. But one of the pluses at home is there's a little bit more solo time. And so I've been designing a lot of cards. So we'll see which ones make it to print. But it's been fun. It's been fun. One of the things about the nature of my job is, as in the early days, that's all I did is make cards. That was my job, making cards. And as you kind of get more responsibility, I have to look at higher and higher and larger things, and I get less tactile on the day-to-day card making. So it's been fun getting back to that. I love making Magic cards. So it's been kind of fun to just get, I mean, I do some of that. It's not like I don't design Magic cards, but I just get to design more than I normally do. So that's been fun.
Very cool. Very cool. What about your podcast? So for those who are watching and don't already know, Mark Rosewater is also a content creator of sorts, where he has a very famous, and I'll link it in this video's description so you can check it out if you're not already a listener like I am, a podcast called Drive to Work, because you've got a bit of a commute we've got like a 45-minute, hour-long commute to work normally, and so you decided to turn that time into productivity by doing a podcast about what else? Making Magic the Gathering, and it's very popular and great little insider access sort of thing. Is that on hold during the pandemic, or are you just taking an hour to make it, or what's going on with Drive to Work?
It is not on hold. So my drive to work is 30 minutes, by the way.
Okay.
I sometimes I hit traffic, so sometimes it's longer. So what I've been doing is I decide I record ahead of time, so I had maybe 4 weeks in the can when I had to go home. So I was putting them out for a while, but eventually I ran out. So what I decided to do was, since I was home, I'm recording from my home because I'm not driving to work. I decided I wanted to do something that it's hard for me to normally do. And one of the things that's actually very tricky for me to do is talk to other people. I've had carpool guests, meaning I've literally had people in the car with me, and most of my guests have been people riding in the car with me. But what I realized is, since I'm home, I actually have the ability to talk to people on the phone, and I know a lot of people that make Magic. And so what I've done is I've put out feelers to a lot of people I know, and so I call them Drive to Work Coronavirus Edition, and they're all interviews. And so they're all about 30 minutes because that's my drive to work. Because another big part of my podcast is I always wanted to keep it short. That's why I did Drive to Work in the first place, because it takes about 30 minutes, and I'm not a fan of podcasts that take 3 hours to listen to. So I like mine. They're short and sweet. So anyway, all my ones from home, I'm doing interviews, and I have a lot of people lined up. I put out a bunch. There's some exciting stuff coming up. Maybe one of these days I'll get you on my podcast.
Hey, it would be an honor.
But anyway, yeah, so I'm doing interviews. So, and the fun part for me of doing interviews is these are people that I have worked with on Magic. And so we share stories about working together, and usually I'm interviewing them, so it's a little bit more about them. You hear about me all the time. But we share a lot of stories of us working together, because all the people that I'm doing are people that I've worked with. And so you'll get a lot of magic stories. Like recently, for example, I did one with Michael Ryan. He and I co-created the Weatherlight Saga. So we talked about making the Weatherlight Saga. I did an interview with Aaron Forsyth, who's my boss, and Andy Sardellis, who's on the creative team. And this week, as we record it, I did 2 people from the Great Designer Search. I did Ari Nee and Chris Mooney. And I got some exciting stuff coming up. I don't want to promise anything yet because I haven't recorded it yet, but I have some exciting stuff lined up. So
cool.
Anyway, if you like Drive to Work, it's a little different. It's a little less me monologuing, but you'll get to hear me interacting with a lot of people that also make magic along with me.
Fantastic, fantastic. So in closing, I want to talk about something I've seen happening in the pandemic that's really resonated with me, and I'm just really curious if you've seen, I'm sure you've seen it, but what your thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. We're seeing people play magic still through the means that are safely available to them. We're seeing people get paper games of Magic, tabletop games of Magic via webcam. In fact, this is becoming a very popular and organized thing for everything from Standard to Commander on Discord servers. There are resources set up so that people can not only play with their friends via webcam, but they can meet new people and make new friends, and all through people still wanting to play Magic the Gathering during this global crisis and to do so safely. I guess I just want to ask, how does it feel when you see that the thing that you create, that you make, that you're a part of is something that people are so driven towards, and it means so much to them that they're literally going to still they're not just going to move on to like, okay, well, I guess I'm playing this other game right now because it's on the computer or whatever. But no, I want to play with my Standard deck, my Commander deck, my Pauper deck, whatever, and we're going to set up the webcam. I want to meet new people. I want to do this, and I see all these images being posted. I see all these links to resources, many of which I'll include in this video's description for people to find for those connections. What do you make of that? What is your reaction to that?
So I'm an optimist at heart. And one of the things I try to do is, no matter what happens, I try to say, okay, what is the good that comes of this? And so I look at the pandemic, and obviously it's a horrible thing. People have died. I mean, the pandemic is a very sad thing. But one of the things I'm like, okay, is there any good that's come of it? And one of the things that I found very interesting is it's made me reflect on what matters. You know what I'm saying? That like when you can go out and live life and do whatever, you don't always think about what really matters. But when you're kind of in your home and you have to make an effort to do everything that you do, you really start to figure out your prioritizations of things. And one of the things that just warms my heart is how much magic has been a priority to people. I'm stuck in my home. What do I want to be doing? What am I going to figure out how to do? Like, for example, I care a lot about my work, so I spend a lot of time figuring out how do I make magic from my home. It has been so watching the magic community just embrace magic in these troubling times, in these scary times, and that magic has been the center for a lot of people, and that people have spent so much time and energy reaching out and interconnecting and finding ways to continue playing magic, even in the heart of, like I said, one of the craziest times in my life, really speaks a lot. Like, one of the things that in R&D we talk about all the time is that we are stewards of the game. I believe in my heart that magic is a force for good, that it brings happiness, it brings people together, it creates bonds between people, that I believe, I mean, magic has done so much wonderful things for me, just personally, just of friends I've made, and just, I mean, I met my wife and all sorts of stuff. It's done a lot, and that I feel a grave responsibility. I feel a very serious responsibility, and all R&D does, that we are the caretakers of this very important thing. This thing that means a lot of people that means so much to a lot of people, and that really has a lot of impact on their lives. And we we want to make sure that we can do everything we can because of that, because I can see what Magic has done. I've had so many people write me letters or talk to me in person or just interact with me on social media. So many people have explained how Magic has made their life better. That is a huge responsibility, and I take proudly, but it's something that we're always looking at is how can we make Magic part of people's lives and enrich it in a way so that Magic can do what it does best. And the pandemic hasn't changed that. Maybe it's altered a little bit how we can make things happen. But it warms my heart watching the Magic community during this, both in how much they've reached out to each other, how much they've helped each other, how much they've helped each other work through this, and how they've used it as a means to find some solace in a crazy, crazy world right now. Really, really, it means a lot to me. And I do not take lightly my job. I do not take lightly, neither do my coworkers. Making Magic is more to me than just a job. I feel that there's a social responsibility to do the right thing and to, I really take it very seriously. And so, one of the reasons, we didn't say this right at the beginning, but I actually contacted you to say I wanted to come on your show because I saw how scared people were. I saw how much people were worried that this thing they love, that they care deeply about, might somehow lessen or go away or something might happen to it. And I wanted to come on the show to say Magic is not going anywhere. Yes, there are issues to deal with and we're working through them. And I can't promise you certainty. I can't say exactly when things will happen. But what I can say is this. Magic is not going anywhere. The people that make Magic are continuing to make Magic, and it's going to keep on chugging. Nothing is going to stop us, not even a world pandemic. Magic will make it through. And so, yes, there are challenges, but we're working through it. And I just want to make people know that Magic is going to be okay. Magic will be okay.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on here to deliver that message, Mark. Thank you so much for all you've done for the game over the years. And, it's changed my life. It means a lot to me, and I'm not the only one. And so to you and all your colleagues, we might have passionate disagreements about silly things relating to the game, but we all care about the game, and we all love it, and we all love each other. And thank you very much for being here today and for doing what you do.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad I could come here and talk with you. I hope this makes people feel a little better, because I've sensed a lot. I know there's a lot of it is scary times, and so
and we're going to get through
whenever
this.
we can do things.
And we're going to get through this. We will get through this together.
We will.
There is light on the other side, and we will make it. We will make it through. And
when we get through, we have amazing products for you coming. So
I can't wait. I can't wait to get my hands on them and make videos about them.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on. This was great.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Hey, you gotta be careful, Gloria. You make a card that's too powerful and kablamo! Standard is ruined forever. Okay. Next card, probably Counterspell, but no, that's too strong. I know, I'll make it cost 7, and I'll give it Scry.
You already did that one.
But it didn't cost 7.
It's too expensive. You're making jank, Murray. You're making jank.
It's a new set with a new power level. That's what it means when you make a new set. You power it down.